Today we're going to be adding decimals, and we're going to show step by step in our journal what steps to follow to correctly add our decimals. So step 1, very important. Always line up your decimal / place value. You always want to make sure that your place value is in the right place. Second step, I want to add zeros. So first we're going to write out our steps, then we're going to do examples. So now we add our zeros. Third, start with the least place value. So you always want to start with the least place value. And last, regroup if needed. So you want to make sure that you're regrouping if you make a 10. For example, let's say we have the number 5 13/100ths plus 12 6/10. And I want to solve this. I'm going to go step by step and I'm going to follow all of my steps. So I'm going to first line up my decimals. I want to line up my place values. So I'm going to put my bigger number on top because it's just easier for me to see the place value when I do that. So between these two numbers, can you tell me which one is greater? Good. So it's the 12 6/100ths because here we have 12 wholes. Here we only have 5. So I want to bring down my 12 6, I said hundredths. I'm sorry, that's tenths. So 12 6/10. So here I brought down my 12 6/10. I want to now line up this number here down here with my 12 6/10. So that 5. So that decimal, I'm going to line it up right here because I want to make sure they're lined up in the same place. So then my 5 goes under the 2 because now I know that that's the 1's place. My 1 goes under the 6 because I know that's the 10th's place. And that 3 is over here in the 100th's place. So now I want to show my addition. All right. So we did the first step. We lined up our decimals. We put our numbers where they go. Second step said add zeros. So now we want to add zeros wherever we need them. So here in the 100ths place, I didn't have anything. So I want to put in my imaginary 0. Now that I have that, I can start adding. So it says start with the least place value. So I'm starting, in this case, in the 100ths place because that's the least place value. So I have 0 plus 3, 6 plus 1, 7. I lined up my decimal so my decimal comes straight down because I want to make sure these are lined up. 2 plus 5, 7. And I bring down my 1. So my answer here would be 17 73/100ths. We're going to do one more example together. let's say we had 4 and 8 tenths plus 16 and 50. Well, let's leave it at 5 tenths. So 4 and 8 tenths plus 16 and 5 tenths. So now I'm going to set up my addition. First, I'm going to line up my place values. That 4 is going to come over. And 8 tenths. I'm going to line up my decimal. My 6 is going to come here. My 1 comes over. And my 5 comes in my tenths place. Here, my 16 is in the bottom. But it's okay, because remember, when adding, it doesn't matter which one is on top, the greatest or the least. But in subtracting, I cannot do this right here, because there's no way I can take 16 from 4. So here, I can do this in adding, but in subtracting, I cannot use this form. In subtraction, the bigger number always goes on top. So now, I lined up my decimals. Now I can add my zeros. I have nothing here. I have everything here, and over here, I have an imaginary 0 here, so I can plug that in. If I choose to, I can also leave it out. Because in adding, it's most important that I bring out my 0 here in the 100th place or in the 10th place if nothing was there. But if it's in the front, then you don't really have to add it. You can if you want to, but you don't really have to. So now, I'm going to start with my least place value. In this case, it's my tenths. So I have 8 plus 5. So now I get to 4. To rule 4, it says regroup if needed. Here, I have to regroup. I didn't have to here because I didn't make any tens in any of the place values when I added. Here, I have to regroup because 8 plus 5 is 13. So that 3 comes down. My decimal is still lined up. My 1 comes to the place value right next door. So I have 13. I brought up my 3 in the ones place. My 1 in the tens place. I brought it up with the next place value because I made tens. So I have 1 plus 4 is 5 plus 6, 11. So that 1 comes down. My other 1 comes up. Now I keep going. 1 plus 1 is 2. So my answer in this case would be 21 and 3 tenths.